Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. So I've been a bit ill recently, so I have not been doing as many videos as I normally would, but I know you all love the tea, so what I've done is I've put together a little compilation of all of the drama and scandals from my Season 17 Have Your Say videos. Some of them are related to Season 17, but some of them aren't, but this is just the tea for those of you who just want to sip the tea. I hope you enjoy, and please make sure if you like these videos, you like, comment and subscribe. However, something that happened to do with the Vivienne's passing came from Tyra Sanchez, who is the winner of Season 2 of Drag Race. So as some of you may know, I have talked about this in previous videos, but Tyra has become a slightly controversial figure within Drag Race. I've talked about this in multiple videos, but there's been some things that she said over the years. She was kicked out of DragCon apparently one year because she threatened to bomb the place. She's also had several online incidents with other queens and threats and things like that. And for a while, Tyra said that she didn't want to be associated in any way with Drag Race. And although she has continued that, she did quit drag, but it now seems to have come back to drag with the name Tyra rather than Tyra Sanchez. However, something that happened was shortly after the Vivienne's death was announced on social media, Tyra retweeted a tweet from the Vivienne from 2020 where the Vivienne said, "Bet Tyra was fuming when she realised Netflix spoiled the win too. Sorry gal, you tried though." And I'm not 100% certain, but I believe this tweet from the Vivienne, which like I said was from 2020, so 4 or 5 years ago at this point, I believe it was a reference to the fact that back when All Stars 5 was airing, before the winner was announced, which was obviously Shea Coulee, I believe Tyra tried to spoil that Shea was the winner before it was announced by posting it in a video or in a thumbnail somewhere. And I think that the Vivienne in this tweet from 2020 was kind of making fun of that. However, for some reason, Tyra has retweeted this very recently after the Vivienne's death was announced, and Tyra retweeted this tweet from 2020 and said, "Yet it doesn't compare to the fumes of the crematorium." This tweet, as you can imagine, received a huge amount of backlash from not only queens but just everyone on the internet and was a huge talking point. And a lot of people were saying how disgusting and distasteful it was given that the Vivienne has passed. And one of the people who commented on this was Candy Muse, who said, "I've defended you for years, but now you can absolutely go F yourself, and if our path were to ever cross, it's absolutely on sight, B. It's not a threat, it's a promise, you disgusting person." And Tyra responded to that and said, "Threat received, prepare your funeral." And also quite a few other queens condemned what Tyra had said, such as Hormona Lisa, who said, "What a disgusting thing to say." Joey J said F you completely with the trash emoji, and Deja Sky said you really are a rotted person. There were also a lot of other queens and just comments in general saying how disgusting it was that Tyra had said this about the Vivienne's passing. After Candy Muse and lots of other queens had condemned what Tyra said and criticised her very heavily, Tyra then posted a screenshot saying that Candy Muse had blocked her, and Tyra said, "B, don't spit out threats and then run scared. You stated on site, run me mine." Tyra then posted quite a few other comments on social media about this and said, "She's dead, rotting. Send me all the hate in the world, won't bring her back. But do as you must. Because of you, the tweet has reached over 25,000 individuals. Thanks for the much needed attention that I oh so desperately needed." She also said, "You all are like sheep, doing as I desire, silly rabbits. Okay losers, I gotta go breathe now. Let's remember not to take our breath for granted. You may never know when it will be your last. God bless you all, and much love to everyone sending hate today. Release, repressed, suppressed, regressed. Redirect all that anger to me. Give it to me. I'm built for this. I can take it. You can do it." A lot of other people then started saying that Raven should have won Season 2, which is a narrative that has been talked about a lot since Tyra started being controversial for quite a long time. And I assume Tyra was talking about this in one of her follow-up tweets that said, "Calling for a crown/title that I could give 2 Fs about is stupid. You're the only ones caught up in that fairy tale. It means absolutely nothing. Y'all been hollering 15 minutes for 15 years. F that crown. F RuPaul, F RuPaul's Drag Race, F World of Wonder, and F U2. Tyra also said, they troll, hanging around with bated breath waiting for the next tweet. They reply instantly with their hate garnering more attention while increasing the reach of each previous tweet. Yet I'm delusional. You can't help yourselves, I get it, silly rabbits. And then she also said, point proven. And as I said earlier, a lot of queens and other people on social media have condemned what Tyra has been saying. And a lot of people were commenting saying that because Tyra has a blue tick and is subscribed to the Twitter Premium, they actually earn money as per the amount of engagements they get on their post, which is often why these channels do these sorts of things, because it earns them money. And for example, Megami from season 16 said, commenting, reposting, quote tweeting, etc. all serves to give nasty people free engagement, which is all they want at the end of the day. Just block. Some of y'all are so quick to post a comeback comment, you don't realise you just fell for the bait. Block, 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 don't engage. And since then, I don't think Tyra has said anything else, so we'll have to see if anything else happens to do with this situation, or if Tyra says anything else about this situation. Okay, so we're now going to move on to a little bit of tea that's unrelated to season 17, which is to do with Candy Muse apparently faking a panic attack on Drag Race. So as you know, Candy Muse competed on season 13 as well as All Stars 8, and she was a finalist in both seasons. Well, recently Candy appeared in the new World of Wonder series called Slaycation, which is a reality show where a bunch of drag queens spend their winter vacation with each other, and they have to do games and challenges. During episode 1, the queens were playing a game of Never Have I Ever in a hot tub, and one of the questions was whether any of them had fake cried on Drag Race, and Candy seemingly made a shocking admission about faking a panic attack. Just as some background information, on season 13, episode 13, which was the episode before the finale, Candy fell in the bottom along with Olivia Lux. During Untucked, the queens were discussing Candy and Olivia being in the bottom, and Candy said that she felt lightheaded, was having a panic attack, and she asked for a medic.
I feel so lightheaded right now. I'm tired. I need a break. I really need to go outside. Can I get a medic, please? I need water. I need air.
You need anything?
I just feel lightheaded. I feel like I'm about to have a panic attack.
How's your breathing? Are you breathing all right?
Inside it was heavy.
Ultimately, Candy did fall in the bottom and lip-synced that episode against Olivia, but she won the lip sync and made it to the finale. This panic attack made headlines at the time, and Gay Times published an article back in April 2021 titled Candy Muse almost wasn't allowed to lip sync following Drag Race Untucked scene. Candy also tweeted about the panic attack back in April 2021, shortly after the episode came out, and this tweet is still on Candy's Twitter, and it said, "As dramatic as it may seem, having a panic attack on set wasn't fun. I almost wasn't allowed to lip sync. I was coming off of a win straight to the bottom 2 the week before the top 4. Everything was sitting right on my chest. Drag Race is hard." However, as I mentioned earlier, recently on the Slaycation show, Candy seemingly admitted that she actually faked having this panic attack because she thought it would stop her from being eliminated. I originally saw this news because the YouTube channel The Drama posted a YouTube short about it, so I'd just like to credit them for that. However, I wanted to know the full background of this clip, so I went to the World of Wonder YouTube page and I watched the full episode of Slaycation, and this is what Candy said.
Never have I ever fake cried on Drag Race.
I never faked cried.
I'm like, you didn't cry
But
at all.
I did have a fake panic attack. And it was my original season. It was the final 5 going into the final 4. I thought to myself, if I have a panic attack, they won't put me in the bottom. Like, I can't lip sync with a panic attack. And well, I lost. I stayed.
And in the comments on the video, there were multiple people criticising Candy for faking a panic attack, but there were also people defending Candy saying that she was just making good TV. And I just thought this was an interesting bit of behind the scenes tea, so I included it in this video. Okay, so moving on to a little bit of tea to do with this season. So obviously one of the big talking points this week was Lucky being eliminated, which was very shocking. And I did mention this in one of my previous videos, but before the season, there was quite a lot of talk about the drag families and the different people related to other previous contestants. And Lucky Stars was apparently the drag daughter of Nina Bonina Brown, who was on season 9. And I do think you can tell because they do have similarities in their drag because they're both very creative and use a lot of things like paper and cardboard and things like that. And Nina had talked in one of her videos saying that she and Lucky used to be close, but they don't really speak anymore. But as far as I am aware, I don't think Lucky had really said much about it. However, just after the episode came out, Lucky did a very interesting interview with Joey Nolfi of Entertainment Weekly, and in the interview, Lucky actually talked about her relationship with Nina Bonina Brown. And Lucky even said that Nina unfollowed her on social media. So when asked in the interview about the relationship with Nina, Lucky said, "I was sort of her drag daughter. I always saw her as my drag mum and mentor, but things changed when I got cast. We've had our ups and downs. When I auditioned, we weren't talking. She helped with my audition tape, but when the audition period started, we weren't talking, so I wasn't going to ask her, hey, help me with the audition. She was a support system when we started talking again. When I finally got the final call, she was supposed to help me prepare, but she kind of didn't, and I was mad. I tried to reach out to her, but it's like, why am I reaching out to you about your problem? It was just a bunch of weird, petty, dumb stuff. I didn't have time for that. I went, filmed, came back. I called her again, but I got so busy. Eventually, she unfollowed me. It was like a whole mess that didn't have to be so messy. I spoke to her like 3 days ago, actually, after months of not talking. I just want to be cordial. We're cordial, I think. I hope. I don't mind though, I'm not sitting here sobbing about it. It is what it is. I still have a lot of respect for her and respect for her art. I'm always going to be a fan, but I don't know, drag daughter / mother? I consider myself to be her drag abortion. I say that in a fun way. And I thought this was very interesting because Lucky hadn't really talked about Nina that much, so I just thought this was a very interesting explanation into their relationship. And Lucky also spilled some other things about her elimination and her time on the show in this interview with Joey Nolfi of Entertainment Weekly, so I recommend you go and check out the full article, and I'll leave a link to it in the description. Also, one of the other things I wanted to talk about was a little bit of drag detective work that I did last week, and I was able to kind of figure out that Lucky was going to get eliminated this week before the episode even happened. So I did talk about this exclusively on my Patreon last week, but now that the episode's happened, I'll talk about it here. So when I was doing some research for my Roscoe's recap for episode 2, I went onto the Wikipedia page for season 17 because I wanted the chart that I had seen of all of the queens' names, where they're from and their ages, and I did use this in one of my videos. However, when I was doing that, I also noticed that there was a column called Outcome, and it was saying where they placed in the season. And at first, all of them were TBC, because obviously at the time no one had gone home. But I noticed that Lucky Stars was put as 14th position, but bear in mind this was a week ago before this episode even happened. And I was really confused about it at the time, and I thought maybe someone was just updating Wikipedia as a joke. But then I thought maybe someone knew something about some spoilers and they had changed it on Wikipedia. But Wikipedia was shortly afterwards changed back to all of them being TBC again. However, then afterwards I noticed that Roscoe's had published saying that the queens who were going to be guests this week for episode 3 were Joella and Lucky Stars. And this then made me think maybe Lucky Stars is going to go home because of not only the Wikipedia, but also because she's going to be at Roscoe's. Because it's become a little bit of a running joke now that when the queens are at Roscoe's, it's usually because they're going home that episode or because they won. So every time a queen is at Roscoe's, people always joke that they must be going home. So because of that, I then realised that Lucky was probably going to go home this week. So when it did happen, I was very sad, but I also wasn't that shocked. But I think it just shows you that there clearly are spoilers out there, and I usually don't post or look at spoilers, but this one actually came about as a result of me doing research for these videos, and I just thought it was kind of interesting. So we'll see if anything else happens to do with spoilers and whether there's any other accurate predictions, but I don't usually post spoilers for that reason. Okay, so moving on to a little bit of drama that happened this week, and first we're going to talk about the backlash to Joella's exit line. So for those of you who have watched my Roscoe's for this week, you may have seen that at Roscoe's they talked about Joella's exit line when she said, "At least I didn't die a local girl." And some people got that this was a reference to season 15 with Selena S. Titties during the acting challenge when she said, "I died a local girl." However, at Roscoe's, Naisha Lopez had some thoughts about this and said,
"Girl, stop. It just shows how unaware and not in tune with our community that you are. Joella, I love you, but I hate that you said that. It was the dumbest thing to come out of your mouth, and you've said some stupid shit."
Yeah.
And someone posted this clip from Roscoe's on Twitter, and it got a huge amount of attention. And although Joella did respond previously saying that it was indeed a reference to Selena S. Titties, it looks like Joella has now responded again specifically to Naisha's comments. So underneath the clip of this video on Twitter, Joella responded saying, "I have been that local girl working for free multiple times a day and a week. Please stop trying to diminish my story and who I am. This is clearly a reference to Selena S. Titties. You're preaching to the wrong choir, sister. There's other Ru girls and fans who need to hear that speech." And Joella followed this up even further by saying, "No, what's upsetting is that it's clearly a Selena reference, and I have been that local girl working for $50 to $75 and sometimes for free multiple times a day. Just because I'm on TV doesn't erase what I've been through, and I've been the local girl that shows Naisha is in too. Anyway, ... And Joella made a few other comments and said, "And if it's one thing I do is support drag, period. I go out to shows all the time. I keep up with my community. To the people barking at me, especially those who can't even name 10 drag artists who aren't on Drag Race, please shut the F up." And the tea is, in that moment, my dreams turned into my worst nightmare, and my world was for real shattering. The one good thing I thought at that moment I got out of RuPaul's Drag Race was that I got on RuPaul's Drag Race. Y'all, it was a really tough time for me, like, can I please just breathe? And so, although it looks like Joella was kind of responding to what Naisha had said at Roscoe's, she was also clarifying that it was a Selena S. Titties reference, but was also kind of responding to the backlash that she's got in general. And as I say in all of my videos, please make sure you don't send the Queen's hate. It is just a TV show at the end of the day, and you can have your opinions, but to tag the Queens and say all of these horrible, nasty things to them is really not okay. So please just make sure you keep it nice and respectful, please. Okay, so finally we're going to move on to a little bit of random drama to do with an apparent editing mistake that Drag Race made, and they're now trying to cover it up. So, as many of you may know, the official RuPaul's Drag Race YouTube channel puts out previews of the upcoming episode, which are usually about 10 minutes long. However, in the preview for this upcoming episode for this week, it looks like someone spotted an editing mistake and Drag Race are now trying to cover it up, potentially. And I'll put links to all of the Reddit threads that I found this on in the video description if you want to go and check it out. So, someone on Reddit noticed that in the preview for this week, in the part where the queens were picking their roles, there was a point where you could see that they were sitting on the sofa and Anya was saying, "Who wants this role?" and no one said anything, so they said, "Oh, crickets," because no one wanted it. But you can see a small white triangle appear, and people think that Anya was actually flipping the paper at the time, but they've taken the footage from when Anya was looking up to try and make it look more tense and make it look like people weren't looking at her to make it seem more shady. But actually they think they've taken two different bits and spliced them together, and this white triangle in the middle is the bit of the folding paper, which gives away that they've taken it from two different places. I'll play the footage now because it maybe makes a bit more sense when you actually see it. But focus on the small white triangle.
Yeah, that's my number one.
Anyone fighting for it?
I don't hear nothing but crickets. Nobody in the room wants the role.
So I think what people are trying to say is that when Anya said, "Does anyone want this role?" they tried to make it look like no one was looking at Anya to make it seem a kind of shady. But this white triangle, people think, means that they took a part where everyone was just looking at their papers, so everyone was looking down, and they've taken that footage where everyone's looking down, and then they've superimposed it over the top of the bit where Anya looks up and says, "Does anyone want this role?" to try and make it look more tense than it actually was in reality, because these moments happened at different times. Now, this is a very, very small editing mistake. I personally would never have noticed this, but someone on Reddit clearly did. However, on a different Reddit thread, someone has said that the first look preview video has now been set to private and is no longer available. And I have checked and this is true. I cannot see this preview anywhere on the RuPaul's Drag Race YouTube channel, and it has been taken down. And if you try and click on the link, it actually says that it's a private video. And people are now assuming that Drag Race must have found out that someone noticed this editing mistake and was posting about it on Reddit. So Drag Race has now taken down the preview to try and cover up the fact that this editing mistake got exposed. Now, obviously, this is just a complete guess and is supposition. This is not confirmed, but it does seem quite coincidental that this made a big splash on Reddit and then now this video has been privated. But I just thought this was interesting because we know that there are definitely editing mistakes on Drag Race. I've talked about it on my channel. There are other channels that have talked about it as well. But the fact that Drag Race potentially, allegedly, has maybe tried to cover it up, I just think is kind of interesting. But let me know in the comments what you think. Do you accept that Drag Race and other reality shows are heavily edited? Or do you think that this kind of editing where they try and change the narrative is taking it too far? And it'll be interesting to see when this episode does come out in full, whether they've now corrected this editing mistake or whether it will still be in there. So keep an eagle eye out for that when the full episode does come out. Okay, so finally, moving on to some drama that's unrelated to season 16, and it's to do with Eureka addressing her past controversies. As you may know, Eureka has had a bit of a checkered past when it comes to controversies and dramas that she's been involved in. Well, a few weeks ago, Eureka appeared on Mistress Isabel Brooks' YouTube channel in a video called Exposing Eureka O'Hara's Biggest Scandals, Eureka Tells All. In the video, Eureka addressed some of her past controversies, and there was also a little bit of drama that happened after the video came out, which Eureka responded to. So I'm going to briefly go through some of the main points of what happened. Okay, so as we all know, Mistress is known for being very funny and shady, and she regularly has guests on her YouTube channel, and she pokes fun at them and makes shady comments. Well, at the beginning of the video, Mistress said Eureka was there to address the controversies and was being quite jokey about it. However, Eureka then said that she actually didn't want to be there really because she knew what Mistress was going to ask her, and she said to Mistress that she didn't like her, although that part I think was a joke. Eureka then proceeded to get quite emotional and started tearing up, and Mistress seemed to be genuinely confused and surprised that Eureka was so upset. Mistress kept saying that Eureka had agreed to do the interview, and it felt a little bit awkward.
It's f***ed up. Out of all the amazing work I've done in my career, you should consider that. I'm just being honest. I asked if you're okay with it. No, I'm not.
However, Eureka eventually said that she does want to address these controversies because she feels like the reason she gets in trouble so much is because she tries to rectify the situations, but then she ends up getting criticised for it. Mistress also supported Eureka and said some nice things about her, which seemed to ease the awkwardness. And I'll link to Mistress's full video in the description, and you should go and watch the whole thing because it was quite interesting. Okay, so the first controversy that they addressed was that Eureka is smelly. Just in case you don't know, I did talk about this in a previous video which I'll link to in the description, but a while back, Eureka was on the Very Delta podcast and said that her luggage got lost one time on tour, and Kim Chi had not let her borrow some clothes because she said they weren't the same size, and Eureka said that Kim was in denial that they're both a similar size. Kim Chi then later responded on a different podcast saying that Eureka smells and doesn't wash regularly, which is why Kim refused to let Eureka borrow her outfits on tour. And these comments got a huge amount of traction on social media, and people started then making jokes about Eureka being smelly. Kim also shared a story saying that there was also a fight between Eureka and Bob the drag queen while Bob was standing up for Kim on tour. And so Mistress asked Eureka if she really smells. Eureka laughed and said there's moments when we all smell, and she's a 6'4", 400-pound person. She then mentioned Kim and said she had seen that Kim had been vulnerable on Twitter and was talking about her size, which is why Eureka thought it was okay for her to talk about it on the podcast. But then Eureka said that Kim's tweets were deleted shortly afterwards, and it seemed that people were then doing to Eureka what they had just done to Kim Chi, and it seemed like it was, quote, revenge. challenge. Mistress asked if Eureka and Kim could ever make up, and Eureka said she thinks they already did make up because at the end of that tour, Kim gave an outfit to Eureka, and even though Kim didn't apologise, Eureka felt that this was Kim's way of apologising. And Eureka said that she actually ended up giving the outfit to Cornbread right before Cornbread got on Drag Race. Mistress also said the reason she even brought up the kimchi story on Very Delta was because she was asked about it and it's a podcast, and the whole point is that you're supposed to talk about things, and Mistress agreed. They then looked at Eureka's tweet when she responded to the backlash she was getting with people calling her smelly, and she felt like they had all been making fun of her behind her back while she was dealing with a lot of things in her life, like her mother having cancer. Eureka said that she was, quote, triggered when this all happened, and she had no idea that her being smelly was the reason they acted like that. She just thought that they didn't want her to win season 10 or that they were just being shady. But Eureka acknowledged that that was a tough time for her back then when she was on tour, and she was partying a lot, so she probably did smell. Okay, so the next thing they talked about was a funny but weird cameo video that Eureka had done, which got a lot of attention on social media.
Listen, when I tell you the plastic chairs are not the motherfucker one, the sundress with no panties and your kitty was on foot, girl, you know what you do? Honestly, you spread it open wide and you smack that kitty and you say, ram, motherfucker, ram.
Eureka explained that she had fully relapsed the day that she did that cameo, and she joked about it, saying that she acknowledges that she's had issues with addiction in the past, but she probably just wanted the money so that she could go out and party. Then, later in the video, they moved on to another of probably the biggest controversies to do with Eureka, which was when Eureka once said the N-word in a video, which she was highly criticised for, with people saying Eureka is racist, and Eureka had also once said that she wished she was black. Mistress asked Eureka about it because it constantly comes up, but Eureka had never really fully addressed this, and Eureka said she wanted to explain what happened. Eureka said her best friend is a black woman, and the N-word is just something that they would say to each other or sing to each other. And the clip of Eureka saying the N-word was actually taken from a video when they were both singing it to each other. But she said it was messed up because her friend got, quote, put on blast where they live because of the video. Eureka said she was 18 at the time and she's now 34, although that's no excuse. And as a white person saying the N-word, it's racist and taking something that doesn't belong to you. And she said it's, quote, letting yourself pretend as though you can walk in the shoes of someone who has been oppressed by that word, and I wouldn't know that and don't. Mistress then said that this is something that's going to be brought up all the time, which is why she is giving Eureka the chance to talk about it. But Eureka said she does not think she deserves to be forgiven. She thinks that she's grown and is not the same person that she was then, and she's educated herself about it. But it's something that she'll have to take responsibility for forever, and she didn't know how to react to it at the time, which made it worse. Also, at the end of the interview, Eureka broke down in tears, reflecting on her life and her struggles, and hoped that people could see that she's changed. There was also a lot more that happened in the video, so make sure you go and check out the full video on Mistress's channel, and I'll link to it in the description. After the video came out, it got some criticism on social media, and Eureka tweeted that the video was, quote, hard to watch, and that she's mentally not in the best place, but she appreciated connecting with Mistress. A Twitter user then said that people were bullying Eureka in the comments and suggested that Mistress should have sent Eureka the video before posting it. But Mistress responded to this and said, we had 2 separate phone calls where I showed her the video in its entirety and asked if she had any changes or concerns. Mistress also retweeted Eureka's tweet where she said the video was hard to watch, and Mistress said, first lesson of 2025, no good deed goes unpunished. And she attached a video to the tweet with a counter that said Eureka approval counter, which went up every time Eureka said in the video that she was happy to proceed with the video. Mistress's tweet got a lot of traction, and people weren't sure if this was a genuine drama or just a joke. Eureka then tweeted saying, enjoy the clicks, I'll respond to all this tomorrow. Then, the next day, Eureka tweeted saying, some of y'all will look for a reason to not like someone and that's okay. I am allowed to feel how I feel. If you don't like me for any reason, that's too bad because I'm a good person, an okay friend, and really great at being on the struggle bus because I'm honest and open about what I'm going through. I don't regret speaking my truth. No matter how many times I watch the video, it's hard to watch because I'm faced with my own reality. That is, that I have a lot of healing to do, and that's my goal right now. Side note, I've enjoyed connecting with Mistress Isabel Brooks, and we spoke on the phone to clear this up. Everyone please have a blessed day. Eureka also followed this up with another tweet where she said Mistress sensed Eureka was uncomfortable during the video and had supported her. And the two of them have since spoken, and Eureka has come to terms with the fact that she's not a social media girl because she reacts too much. And Mistress had been defensive because she had taken the time to comfort Eureka, but Eureka said she loves Mistress and supports her. And so, although Eureka's video with Mistress may have stirred up some criticism online, it appears that Eureka and Mistress are on good terms with each other, and perhaps the reaction to this video was blown out of proportion online. Okay, so finally we're going to move on to some light drama that happened off the back of this week's episode to do with Lana Del Rey calling out some comments made about her online. As we know, the queens often get a lot of hate and mean comments, especially while their season is airing, and several queens have called out these types of comments in the past. Well, this week, Lana Del Rey called out some comments that were made about her bathing suit runway. A lot of people were saying that this look was very basic, and people were criticising Lana for relying on her body, but people were also defending it and saying she looked great. One person on Twitter posted a clip of Lana's runway and said, "Look how she ate that." A different Twitter user then retweeted that and said, "Skinny people can really give nothing and y'all will live because they're skinny." And this tweet pretty much instantly got a lot of attention. By the way, I've censored the names in these tweets from any non-Drag Race queens just to avoid any issues. Some people then started agreeing with this tweet and commenting things about Lana's body, but other people criticised the tweet saying that they shouldn't be commenting on Lana's body. And an example of someone who commented on it was Rena/Eve6000 from Canada's Drag Race, who said, "Hey, so actually she was in the bottom and is getting tons of hate online for this, so that kind of disproves your little thesis." Shortly after the original tweet got a huge amount of attention, Lana seemingly responded to this by saying, "My body has been the topic of conversation my entire life. Please come up with something else to hate on. I am bored." Lana also said in a later tweet, "All drag is valid until you don't wear pads." The user who originally tweeted the comment about Lana being skinny got a huge amount of backlash about their comment and later responded to this and said, "Anyways, logging off, thanks for proving my point about how y'all treat non-skinny drag performers. I don't condone any hatred towards Lana's body, she's gorgeous, just was commenting on the effort of that look. Good night. Gonna hang with my friend and enjoy my evening." The next day, Lana tweeted about the situation and said, "Classic behaviour for a white queen to start an argument against a black queen and then turn around and play victim. Sorry babes, not this month. Also, if you're a supporter of me, you know I don't condone hate, so if you are sending hate to her, stop that immediately." And the next day, Lana tweeted again saying, "The way I've been safe almost every week, yet the topic of conversation every week as well. The Corey King school of any publicity is good publicity, all you can do is laugh truly." It then seems that a different Twitter user posted a photo of the person who commented on Lana being skinny, and it was a photo of this user, who is also a drag performer by the looks of it, and the photo was of them in what looks like a swimsuit. And although the tweet has now been removed, the tweet apparently was making fun of this person's body and saying that they had no right to criticise Lana when they look like that. The original tweet is now gone, but this is a version of the photo they posted, but without the coat, and this photo was apparently fat-shaming the other user. The user then replied and said, "The only person doing any body shaking, although I think they may have meant shaming, here is you. The tweet was meant for my followers. I wasn't expecting it to blow up. Y'all all calling me big and fat in the comments. I never said anything about her body, I commented on her effort. Mind you, that was a reveal and not for TV." Also, I think the bit where they said a reveal was referring to the photo of them that the person had posted earlier. The user also retweeted some of the comments they said had been fat shaming, and for example, one of them said, "Just a huge mess, I'm crying," and the other said, "Just mad and chubby." And the user retweeted the post that was apparently fat shaming them and said, "I love my beautiful fat trans body baby." And like I said, the other tweet has since been deleted. Also, this Twitter user then said, "Not the alt girl I was rooting for egging on the hate." I think what they're referring to is back on Lana's tweet, she called out this person for their comments about her body being skinny, but then also said you need to stop sending hate to that person. Ariete then commented on Lana's post and said, no, let them get her ass. And I saw that some people were criticising Ariete on Reddit, saying that she was encouraging hate to be sent to this other person. However, a day or so later, the user then tweeted and seemed to suggest that they had made up with Lana, and they said, "Also cackling at these random 14-year-old Drag Race fans like, X had a basic look too, I haven't watched the season at all and probably won't, I've only seen random clips here. Anyways, Lana sent me a kind private message, the damage is done but definitely have respect for that. Anyways, I won't be speaking on this anymore, I've received so much love from the community here and anyone who knows me knows my heart. Regularly scheduled Gaga tweets will now resume." And so it looks like that's the end of the situation, and it looks like Lana and this person have somewhat reconciled. Okay, so lastly, moving on to a little bit of light-hearted drama that happened on Twitter this week between Lana Del Rey and Plain Jane, as well as Luxe Noir London and Mistress Isabel Brooks. So Plain Jane tweeted saying, and Lana then responded saying, "Shut up, ho." Plain Jane then responded to Lana and said, "I'll shut up when you glue your wig on. I'll shut up when you cover your boy nipple. I'll shut up when you pad your up and down pole body when needed. I'll shut up when you eat a challenge. Brackets, love you niece, but I will spank that ass respectfully." People then started commenting and using that as an excuse to then start being mean about Lana. And Plain actually responded to one of these people and said, no, this wasn't a green light for Lana hate. Zip it. Lana then responded to Plain's tweet and said, "Leave my body out of this ugly." And then Plain responded with a picture of a hat and coat stand. Luxe Noir London, who is Lana's drag mother, then also commented on Plain's original tweet and said, "Now, not too much, Miss Plain Jane. You truly don't want to see Lana on or off a stage ever. Those big tits or pads or Neanderthal brow bone won't be able to cushion the blow." Plain then responded back to Luxe and said, "From one Neanderthal browed bee to another, you and your coat hanger body daughter both need to get to shaving a Tempur-pedic mattress stat. Chop chop, I'm too busy to see either of you in any capacity, but maybe I can pencil you gentlemen in for next year." Luxe then responded saying, "I'd rather be built like a coat hanger than have a face like an ottoman. I'm sure we'll be in Vegas soon to see you perform someone else's track at the Flamingo, or maybe not. We like to see talent, not some bee give 10%. Which Plain replied to saying, "Come through my pool noodle-limbed sister. It's about time you stepped out of your local scene. Shots on me. I know those theatre rates are a rough. Can't wait for the key." Luxe then replied to that again, saying, "The decent pay is worth knowing that you have opportunities to use your talents that go far beyond shoddily lip-syncing to a top 40 song. I'm sure you know nothing about that, seeing you don't really have any talents other than relying on a gimmick for a laugh and wearing pads. But yes, shots on you, sister, can't wait to key." Lana then also tweeted the next day with a video that said "F that B," and she then explained that this was clearly a joke between her and Plain Jane. And she encouraged people not to send any hate, which Plain then responded to with a gif of herself. Mistress Isabel Brooks then got involved and she responded to Luxe's tweets and said, "Stop it, Luxe. We don't want to see either on or off stage," with a picture of both Plain Jane and Lana. Plain then responded to that and said, "I find that hard to believe, mistress. I'm literally wearing food. I know you've never met a burger you didn't like." Luxe then responded to Mistress's tweet and said, "Remember when we almost didn't see you on the stage either after your little tantrum backstage at the finale? Those were truly the times." And for those of you who don't know, this is referring to the season 15 finale where Mistress apparently had a tantrum backstage after she found out she didn't make it to the top 2. And Luxe actually talked about this at Roscoe's this week. So make sure you check out my Roscoe's recap, which I'll link to in the description, and you can go and hear what Luxe said about this. Okay, so finally, let's move on to a little bit of light drama to do with apparently Lana copied a look from Violet Chachki. So recently on the No Gorge podcast with Violet Chachki and Gottmik, they brought up that someone had copied one of Violet's looks.
That we could talk about is that one drag queen that redid your outfit.
Oh, that is a fun hot topic for everyone, huh?
So...
And although they didn't mention Lana's name, the fact they put up the picture of Lana obviously showed that that's who it was. So Violet explained that she did a look several years ago. I believe it was almost 10 years ago. And it was inspired by an Airtay drawing or sketch. By the way, I'm going to have to censor the Airtay sketch because it has bare breasts in it. I know this sounds ridiculous. I used an image once in one of my previous videos, which was a historical painting of a woman and she had her breasts out and it got flagged by YouTube for being inappropriate and my video was flagged. So that's why I'm having to censor it, just so you know. So Violet was saying that this look came from an Airtay sketch and it's quite an obscure sketch. So it then seemed quite odd that someone else would do something that is very similar. Violet also said that she made several alterations to the outfit and said that Lana made the same alterations, which was unusual.
And even in my original costume, there was like a little section on the hip where like I did have jewelry made to like connect it, almost like where the corset and my skin would like meet on the leg. Hers is literally exactly that concept and does not have the jewels on the original sketch, like on the hip.
So she's just copying yours. So it's your skin tone of bodysuit because she doesn't get that you're supposed to be naked. She just thinks it's like a crystal dress.
Violet also said that she doesn't need credit, but she thinks that it's odd to go on Drag Race and copy a look from someone else. And ultimately, Violet said that she thought this outfit looked cheap.
So this is your opportunity. There's so many Airtay sketches also. It just looked cheap.
Also, quite a few other people noticed that Lana's look from last week did look very similar to a look that Violet had done in the past. And for example, someone tweeted a photo of them side by side and said, then why did she full on copy the bedazzled corset from Violet, considering the original sketch doesn't have it in? I'll wait. Anthony Canny then responded, and Anthony Canny, for those of you who don't know, is a well-known designer who has worked with Violet a lot in the past. And Anthony commented saying, because it's the best way to interpret the reference, I say that as the person who made Violet's. She also paired it with pearls like the Airtay, rather than chunky rhinestone jewelry like Violet's version. Brackets, that said, they really needed to stone it in her own skin tone and not Caucasian. And I also wanted to know if Lana had responded to any of these sort of accusations, people saying that she copied it. And for example, someone did tweet saying that this was Violet, but then someone said it's actually an Airtay reference and there's a world outside of Drag Race. And Lana then responded to that with exclamation marks. So it looks like Lana did in some way respond to this criticism that she was getting about copying supposedly a look from someone else. But it's not necessarily a copy of Violet. Violet used Airtay as a reference and so did Lana. And after Anthony commented this to the Twitter user actually responded and said, I mean, you're also on bad terms with Violet, so I don't expect you to be on her side, but I will say your work is amazing and Lana easily could have done a full-on stoned bodysuit rather than just an exact same corset like Violet. And just in case you don't know about that reference, as I mentioned earlier, Anthony Canny is a designer and has worked with a lot of people, but Violet was one of the people he worked with for a very long time, I think over 10 years. And then last year, it seemed that Anthony had a sort of falling out with Violet and it happened on social media. So I believe what happened is Violet posted a picture of a look and then Anthony posted this picture and said, not so cool seeing my work credited to @TheDiscoDaddy. He stoned this dress, had zero hand in its construction, contrary to his statement about the design process, which came from @VioletChachki, and I did my best to make her concept a reality, as I have for nearly a decade. I made every corset and half of the wardrobe of her @Crazy Horse Paris Forever show, not a single mention, not even a tag. It's a shame that after so many years of working together, I still feel like I get so little public credit for the amount of heart and soul I have put into every garment I have created for her over the years. Violet then commented on it and said, "Darling, I love you and our working relationship. I designed this entire look and sourced these fabrics with my own two hands, paid and commissioned you to create the pieces, and then upon arrival had to commission and pay someone else to remake 80% of the pieces you made. The person credited on Vogue worked for free and did all of the rhinestone design and application, someone who strictly rhinestones garments for stage. I've always spoken about our working relationship publicly and even recommend celebrities and stylists to you. You're the only person I collaborate with who expects full payment and constant free publicity." Anthony then posted an apology and said, "I must apologize. Violet remade 90% of this costume and therefore she had no need to really credit me, brackets. It also was not made by the person taking credit for it, just to be fair. So please stop taking it out on her." But it seems that Anthony and Violet had a falling out and then don't work together anymore, because Anthony then posted saying, "It's official, after 10 years of relentlessly making time for one single client and rarely getting credit for it, I have let them go. It's so freeing." Just to make it clear though, this is nothing to do with the Lana situation. This is just background about this designer and Violet having a falling out in the past and no longer working together. But that designer is the one that made the outfit that Lana apparently copied from this Airtape sketch. Okay, so now let's move on to a little bit of light-hearted drama to do with the fact that Jules Sparkles apparently once got fired by Trinity the Tuck. Okay, so this all started because Trinity the Tuck posted a TikTok where she said that she had seen an article with Crystal Method from season 12 where Crystal had said that Jules once got fired by Trinity. Now, I tracked down this article that Trinity was referring to, and it was an interview that Crystal Method did with a site called Thotasy. I think that's how you say it. And in the interview, Crystal was asked lots of questions about different things, but one of the questions was who she was rooting for on season 17. And Crystal said, quote, "I'm personally rooting for Jules Sparkles. We met in South Africa while I was filming a movie for Tubi called Slay. She was working as an assistant for Trinity the Tuck. Unfortunately, she wasn't very good at her job and got fired. Thankfully, she has Drag Race to fall back on." And this then started the rumour that Jules got fired by Trinity the Tuck. And because Crystal had said this in the interview and the rumour then started, Trinity then posted a TikTok video giving her side of it. In the TikTok video, Trinity confirmed that while she was in South Africa filming the movie Slay, which came out in 2024, and it was made by the streaming platform Tubi, during that time, Jules was working as Trinity's assistant. And Trinity said the claim that Crystal had made that Jules got fired because she was terrible at her job is only partially true. But Trinity started off by saying that Jules was indeed terrible at her job.
Jules was absolutely terrible as an assistant because every chance she got, she was making TikToks, she was taking selfies, she was texting, doing anything but getting me my energy drink and my script. I mean, like, literally her job was so basic.
However, Trinity made it clear that she did not fire Jules because she was, quote, stuck with her.
But she did not get fired. I did not fire her. She got paid in full. And I couldn't fire her, girl. We were in another country and I didn't have another assistant. So I was stuck with her.
And then Trinity ended the video by saying this about Jules.
Valuable lesson learned. Jules is a terrible assistant and she can't even assist herself, let alone be an assistant for somebody else. Good thing is, so far she's been good at Drag Race.
And I saw that Crystal then commented on Trinity's TikTok video saying, "Love you, mother." And so obviously this is just light drama. It's nothing serious. And it seems like all of them are cool about it. But I just thought this was really interesting, T, because I didn't realize that Jules had once worked for Trinity the Tuck as her assistant. And now Jules is on Drag Race with Trinity's drag daughter, Sam Star. So it's just kind of funny how it all interconnects. Okay, and then there was also another light bit of drama this week that was to do with Bob the Drag Queen clapping back at Violet Chachki. So, as you probably know, Violet Chachki and Gottmik have a podcast called No Gorge, where they talk about things like drag race, fashion, and other hot topics. And Bob and Monet also have a podcast called Sibling Rivalry, where they discuss the episodes of Drag Race and give their opinions on them, as well as other things. Well, recently, Violet said on her podcast that she didn't think that Bob and Monet are qualified to talk about other people's fashion.
I think Bob and Monet are not allowed to talk about aesthetics. They literally need to not speak about aesthetics. They're like, I don't know what it is. Whenever we do it, we get raked through the combs.
Violet then said she was going to call Bob directly to say it to Bob's face, and Violet called Bob, and Bob was actually recording the podcast with Monet at the time, so they were both recording podcasts at the same time, and both of their videos show the call from two different perspectives. And that's when Violet then said to Bob and Monet that she didn't think they were qualified to judge other queens' fashion.
Y'all read the drag queen girls on y'all's podcast. You drag these bitches through the mud to the point where I start to feel bad for them. We want y'all to know that you are not qualified.
And Bob and Monet kind of laughed about it, and Bob even said, quote, from 2 winners to 1 winner and a loser. And Bob also had this to say.
Let me be clear. If I had been competing against Trixie Mattel, Ginger Minge, and Tempest Jour, I would have won that season 2.
Okay, well, not by aesthetics. Let me tell you that much.
And that was the end of the conversation. But then the No Gorge TikTok account posted a clip where Violet was saying that she doesn't think that Bob and Monet are qualified to judge fashion. And Bob seemed to then clap back to this TikTok by posting their own TikTok, which said this.
Do y'all remember when Violet Chachki was one of the hosts of Fashion Photo Review and the season was so bad they just took it off the air and you can't find it anywhere anymore? Maybe you're not qualified to hold a microphone and talk.
And just to explain that part in case you don't know or maybe you've forgotten, back when All Stars 7 was airing, Violet and Gottmik hosted the YouTube show Fashion Photo Review, which is usually hosted by Raja and Raven, where they toot or boot the looks from the main stage. But obviously Raja was competing on All Stars 7 at the time, which is probably why Violet and Gottmik did it instead. But Violet and Gottmik booted several of Raja's looks, and there was a lot of backlash from people saying that Violet and Gottmik were being overly harsh, or they had bad taste. And they also apparently received a lot of death threats and transphobic comments. Violet later said that she told World of Wonder to pull the episodes of Fashion Photo Review from YouTube and make them exclusive on Wow Presents Plus. And they did seemingly do that, although I've checked and it looks like they later reinstated these videos on YouTube. On the podcast, Violet even said that she was done with Drag Race and considered quitting drag at one point because of all of this. And I did talk about this in more detail in my video called The Dramatic Life of Violet Chachki. And if you want to know more about that, plus also some other interesting dramas that have happened with Violet, check it out and I'll put a link in the description. And so I think Bob was just poking some fun at Violet, and it wasn't meant in a malicious or mean way. It was just kind of banter between the queens, because Violet and Gottmik have also joked about this whole Fashion Photo Review backlash. So I think this was just funny shade between the queens and it was nothing serious. Okay, so let's move on to a little bit of light drama this week to do with apparently Lexi tried to bribe Jules Sparkles. Okay, so this tea comes courtesy of Amanda from the Pressed Conference. So Amanda is affiliated with a bar called Tribe in Nashville, and Jules Sparkles was the guest there at a viewing party this week. Amanda then contacted me and told me some of the tea that Jules spilled at this viewing party. And Amanda also talked about it on the Pressed Conference podcast video this week as well, which I'll link to in the description. So the first thing that Jules spilled is that Lexi apparently tried to bribe her by offering her money to put her last in the running order for the roast, and even offered Jules hundreds of dollars to do so.
And unaired information. At Tribe, Jules said that they didn't show that Lexi was offering to pay her literally like money to put her last. Jules said in her words, I will give you $100, $200 to put me at the end. And then she kept going, $300, $400. So Lexi was very particular. She wanted to go last.
Another bit of tea that Jules spilled is that apparently Susie Toot did a whole bit during her roast set where she compared each of the judges to characters from The Wizard of Oz, but it apparently was not that funny and it didn't land, and it looks like this was just cut from the episode. And interestingly, the other guest on the Pressed Conference podcast, which is Black Boy, said that he was at a different viewing party and Susie was the guest at that viewing party, and Susie also told the same story. So this has been confirmed by two different people, but I just thought this was an interesting bit of tea about Susie's unaired jokes that apparently didn't land. Another interesting thing Amanda said was that there was an unaired moment where it looked like RuPaul seemed a bit confused. So you may remember that during Lana's set, she made a joke at the end where she said that Sam Starr's family used to own Lana's family. Then, when Sam Starr came up on stage, she joked that Lana was an old family friend. Apparently, later during the judges' critiques, RuPaul asked if Lana and Sam really are family friends, and they had to explain that it was just part of the joke. So it's unclear if Ru actually got the joke or not, or whether he was just saying that to be funny. But that moment got cut from the episode. Also, one of the other funny things that happened was that Mistress apparently had a read for Lana, which did not get shown. But apparently Mistress said, quote, "Lana, you are the stripper and the pole." And I just thought this was a funny read. And as I said, this tea came courtesy of Amanda from the press conference. So make sure you go and check out the press conference on YouTube, and I'll put a link in the description because their full video was really interesting and had a lot of interesting opinions. And finally, we're going to move on to a little bit of light drama that's unrelated to Drag Race, but it's to do with Michelle Visage being accused of copying an idea from a TikToker. So I first saw this drama on the RPDR drama subreddit, and then I saw people talking about it elsewhere. So I went over to TikTok myself to look at the full videos and try and piece together what happened. So by the looks of it, a TikTok creator named Taylor, whose handle is @TayMadeBeauty, has around 9,000 followers, posted a video where she took a fragrance called Sticky Dates from the company Lush, and she said that she doesn't like the bottle that the fragrance comes in because the nozzle is not good at spraying it. She then decanted this fragrance into some different spray bottles that she bought on Amazon. She then removed the original label and stuck it on the new bottle. And she said not only does the new one look better, but also the spray works better as well. Then, 3 days after Taylor posted her video, Michelle Visage posted a video saying that she was a smart girl because she had this great idea, and what she showed was the exact same thing that Taylor had done. It was the Sticky Dates fragrance from Lush. She decanted it into bottles from Amazon, which apparently were the same ones that Taylor had used and was even the same Amazon link that she had used. And then after Michelle posted her video, people started commenting saying that another creator, which was Taylor, had already posted this idea as a video, and Michelle said that great minds think alike. Then, shortly after, Taylor posted a video where she claimed that another creator had stolen her idea. Although she didn't say Michelle's name, it was obvious she was referring to Michelle. In the video, Taylor said that Michelle's video was too similar to her video to just be a coincidence, and that larger creators should credit smaller creators. And on top of that, because Taylor has under 10,000 followers, she cannot monetize her videos, whereas Michelle can because Michelle has a much larger following. Taylor also said that people had commented on Michelle's video accusing Michelle of stealing Taylor's idea without crediting. And according to Taylor, some of those comments got removed, and she showed some examples on screen, but some of the comments did not get removed. I went on the comments section on both videos to check it out, and on Michelle's video, there are several comments saying that Michelle copied this idea and that she needed to give credit to Taylor. Michelle replied to a few of the comments and said that great minds think alike. It appears that Michelle then commented on Taylor's original video and said, we are literally the same mind, and Taylor hearted Michelle's comment. However, in the replies to Michelle's comment, someone said, "Stop it, you're coming here from people tagging her on your video," and Taylor also hearted this comment too. A few days later, Taylor posted a follow-up video about the stolen video idea, and in that follow-up video, she said she knows that she's not the first person to ever decant perfume, but that's not the reason why she's mad. The reason she's mad is that in her opinion, Michelle copied her video almost detail for detail, but then insinuated that she came up with the idea rather than crediting Taylor. Taylor ended her video by saying, though, to not send hate to anyone involved. Taylor has also turned off comments on both of her videos where she was talking about Michelle apparently stealing her idea. And as I said, a lot of people in the comments were supporting Taylor and saying that Michelle shouldn't have copied her or should have given Taylor credit. But then there were other people who were defending Michelle, saying that Taylor was overreacting and that decanting perfume is not a new idea, so it was probably just a coincidence. But it seems that that's the end of the situation for the time being. So we're now going to move on to a little bit of light drama that happened, where Mistress Isabel Brooks called out Dawn for something that Dawn had said about Mistress. So what happened was, a few weeks ago, Dawn from season 16 appeared on the Sloppy Seconds podcast, which is hosted by Big Dipper and Meatball. They started talking about season 15 contestant Mistress Isabel Brooks, and Dawn said she had some tea to spill about the time that Dawn appeared on Mistress's YouTube channel.
You and Mistress need to get together.
We did. We filmed a YouTube video
Big
together.
fan. Which one?
Well, can I tell some tea about that? Do you think she'll get mad?
Dawn is referring to a video that she did with Mistress, which also included Nymphia Wind, and the video was posted in February 2024 called Mistress Isabel Brooks Transforms Dawn into a Woman, which I'll link to in the description.
So she flies us in a day early, and we're like, what time? She's like 6, like something, like whatever. 6 o'clock rolls around. She's like, we're going to push back to like 9. Then I think she picks us up around like 9:30. We get to her studio at like 10. And then she did Nymphia's video first from like 10 until like 3 a.m. And then did mine from like 3:30 until like 5.
And because it went on so late with the filming, Dawn said about it, quote, "I hate this video."
I watched that back and I was like, I hate this video because I am like sick of it. I'm so exhausted.
The Sloppy Seconds podcast posted this clip as a YouTube short, as well as on TikTok and their Twitter account, which then got a lot of traction. By the way, I'll link in the description to the full interview that they did with Dawn on YouTube. Anyway, after this short clip got a lot of traction on social media, people then started commenting about it. Some people said that Dawn was unnecessarily complaining and she was paid to do the gig, so she was making too much of it. However, other people supported Dawn and started tagging Mistress, saying that she shouldn't have treated Dawn and Nymphia like that. Seemingly in response to this criticism, Dawn reposted the video on Twitter and said, "Just gonna say this now before y'all start acting crazy. This was meant to be a silly story. The whole time she was being very professional and making sure that we were down for what was going on. We were on board the whole time for the late shooting and it was fun. When I say that sucked, I was referring to the fact that I wished I was in a better mood when we filmed my video because I thought I could have been funnier, and literally even say that the point of the story was to say I wanted to do a redo. Mistress is very professional." And then some people in the comments said that Dawn was backpedaling. I also noticed that on the original video with Dawn on Mistress's channel, which is over a year old by this point, the video received a bunch of new comments after this podcast clip came out, with people mentioning what Dawn had said about them filming from 3 till 5 a.m. And up till that point, Mistress didn't really seem to respond to the situation at first. But a while later, Mistress did talk about it in a live video, and the TikTok account called Up Till Dawn posted a screen recording of that portion of Mistress's live. And by the way, this TikTok account is not Dawn's account. This is what looks like a Dawn fan account. So the video is several minutes long, so I'll just summarize the main parts. At first, Mistress joked that she wasn't going to talk about it because so many people on the live were asking her about the Dawn situation, but then she laughed and said she would talk about it. She mentioned the Sloppy Seconds podcast and said that she has been asked to be on that podcast multiple times, as well as other podcasts such as Very Delta and Race Chaser, as well as other YouTube channels. But because Mistress is a quote upcoming girl with her YouTube and things like that, she doesn't want to give her content away for free to other people.
Why would I give you my time for your platform if I can make all the money off of it and do it for myself and do it the way I want it to be done? You know what I mean? So I'm not, and it's different if I'm getting paid to do something. It's different if you're booking me and doing X, Y, and Z.
Mistress then referenced the hosts of Sloppy Seconds, Big Dipper and Meatball, and what they had said about Mistress ghosting them and not replying to them.
No, that goes off on everybody.
Okay, you're right.
And so she keeps flaking on us.
Oh.
Yeah, you fat.
Well.
Mistress said she's very professional, so she wouldn't do that. And she also said that the other thing that annoys her is when people, quote, use my name for clickbait.
I don't like when people use my name for clickbait. And obviously I do the same thing. It's very I'm very Wendy Williams tease where she's like, I'm not going to tell people to stop talking about me because I talk about people. It's very that. But when you're doing clickbait over something you know is going to lead to people talking about me, or like if you knew people are gonna jump on, have a hate boner for me, why would you post that and then try to be my friend and text me on the side? And not Don, I'm talking about Dipper and Meatball.
Mistress then said that she's cool with Big Dipper and Meatball, but she doesn't mind blocking people if need be. After that, Mistress addressed what Dawn had said about the filming being so late. Mistress explained that Dawn and Nymphia were one of her first guests on her YouTube channel, so she was still figuring stuff out. And she clarified that everyone gets paid for coming on her channel, or they receive some kind of compensation, which is all agreed with that person beforehand. Mistress then said she's not mad at Dawn for what she said, but she questioned why you would say that when you know people will use it as an excuse to be hateful. Mistress then said it's none of your business how they film and they're all adults and getting paid. She also said that if you watch the full interview on Sloppy Seconds and not just the clip, you can see that Dawn was just telling a silly story and it wasn't that serious, which is why Mistress didn't respond to it at first. Mistress then ended by saying that she's blocked them, but she didn't exactly make it clear who she's blocked.
I don't know. It just made me feel really weird that some like people who I would consider at least like acquaintances would like make a little clickbaity like Mistress hate train kind of video, and I just didn't like it, so I blocked them, and it's no tea.
I also saw that Dawn herself commented on this TikTok clip and said, "Am I the drama?" The reaction to Mistress's comments in the live video were mixed, with some people supporting Mistress and agreeing that they were all consenting adults and they shouldn't be using Mistress's name for clickbait. But other people criticised Mistress, saying she was being hypocritical and that she can dish it out but can't take it. But that seems to be the end of the situation as far as I can tell. Okay, so moving on to a little bit of drama that sort of was related to this episode. I mentioned this earlier, which was to do with Aiden Zane from season 12 making a comment about this week's episode. So Aiden tweeted saying, "The girlies this season wearing all of their drag families and friends' recycled outfits down the runway is a cop-out. There, I said it. Why the hell come on Drag Race and show us other people's drag? I truly don't get it." This comment may have been referring to the fact that Lana was wearing Candy's outfit this week, but more in general, it may have been to do with people like Sam Star and Jules Sparkles wearing a lot of Trinity the Tuck's outfits because they are in the same drag family as Trinity. Lana then replied to Aiden's tweet and said, "Please." Another season 17 queen then retweeted, which was Corey King, who said, "B-word, didn't you have like one wig, lol?" And Jules Sparkles replied to that with the clock emoji. And Joella posted a gif of herself with the shade button in the background. Aiden's tweet then got a lot of traction, sparking a lot of comments. And for example, people were posting saying, "Mind you, recycled this beep-ass wig for all 5 episodes you were there and the promo," and put photos of Aiden from her season wearing the same wig. Someone also said, "No shade, but people don't want to be fashion icons. Some people just do drag to lip sync and entertain a crowd. It takes a village and Sam is still an icon." And Aiden replied to this saying, "This is an excuse. Yes, we all do drag for our own reasons. Obviously, it's not about being a fashion icon, it's about showing us you." Someone else said, "You're not wrong, but you're gonna get attacked because you're not one of the Drag Race favourites." And Aiden replied saying, "That's fine. I've had 5 years of this fandom coming for me. There's literally not a single thing they haven't already said or tried. I'm not going to mute myself out of fear of people disagreeing with me." And as I said, Aiden got a lot of comments because of this tweet. And then Aiden tweeted a follow-up saying, "Y'all really stay pressed over a person's opinion, huh? I expect nothing less from this platform." And Lana Del Rey replied saying, "Girl, save it." Aiden then continued to get a lot more comments and criticism on her original tweet. And then the next day, Aiden tweeted saying, "Y'all still arguing? Over 1 million impressions on that tweet is kind of insane, y'all. Go do something." Then Trinity the Tuck seemed to get involved, mainly because people think that Aiden's comment was targeted towards Sam Star and Jules Sparkles for wearing a lot of Trinity's outfits this season. And Trinity posted an Instagram story with lots of Aiden's looks from her season. And she tagged Aiden and said, "And baby doll, had you asked, I would have let you rummage. It might have helped you." And this was followed up by another Instagram story where Trinity took a screenshot of Corey replying back to Aiden Zane. And Trinity then said, "What at Corey King said, and if we're going to be fully honest today, what season were you even on? Because all I remember was the wig too. It's always the girls who can't that have the loudest mouth. At Aiden Zane, what's good?" And so in general, it looks like Aiden got a lot of clapback from this tweet, but you can make your own mind up about whether you think it's okay to wear another outfit or not, but it seems that this got a lot of traction within the fandom. And finally, moving on to some drama that's not related to season 17, which was to do with Tamisha Iman potentially exposing some manipulation from production during her season. As you may remember, Tamisha Iman competed on season 13 and placed 11th. Although Tamisha is a legend within the drag scene, since her time on Drag Race, she has become a little bit controversial and has criticised RuPaul and the show on multiple occasions, as well as had public feuds with several of her season 13 co-stars. And if you want to know more about that, I did talk about Tamisha in one of my videos about queens who are banned or unlikely to be asked to return to Drag Race, and I'll link to that video in the description. However, Tamisha recently did a live video which is on her Instagram. It was over an hour and a half long and it was titled Tamisha Conversation About the Drag Race Shade. Within that video, Tamisha shared a lot of information, including some alleged production manipulation from her season, as well as some criticisms of Drag Race and RuPaul in general. I won't go through the whole live, but several clips of the most poignant moments from the live were shared on TikTok and other social media platforms, so I'll go through just some of these moments. So Tamisha started out by saying that the reason she was making this video is because she had said about 5 years ago that she was going to spill all the tea about Drag Race once her NDA was up, but she hadn't done it so far, so she's going to do it now. Also, a day before Tamisha posted this live, Tamisha had posted a different video where she explained that she and a few other queens had contacted World of Wonder to ask if they could be in the audience for the Drag Race Live 1000th show, which happened recently in Las Vegas. Tamisha lives in Las Vegas and said that WOW didn't even return some of the Queen's calls, which was disrespectful, and Tamisha said the show favours some queens and disregards others. Then, going back to the long live that Tamisha posted the next day, Tamisha told a story that she and her season 13 co-star, Elliot with 2 T's, wanted to get tickets for the Drag Race Live 1000th show. However, they were told by WOW that there were no tickets left. But Tamisha thinks that they were being shut out by WOW and that Drag Race as well as RuPaul don't intervene or protect the queens from backlash that they get.
And for Ru to be considered the mother of Drag Race, you would think she would intervene on some occasions. But it's always silence. You don't hear anything about Ru unless it's promotion or unless it's favoring the girls that she likes.
Tamisha then went on to say that she thinks that the franchise perpetuates racism. She also said that there were a lot of, quote, crackheads within the franchise.
The franchise perpetuates racism. Now, mind you, you can say, well, girl, how did you do that? Bob and Monet, yeah, but I'm talking about the girls that's from the other side of the track. They allow the fan base to go wild on them. There are a lot of crackheads in this franchise. I'm gonna call it out. Now, I don't do drugs, but I don't hate on it, and I don't try to throw people under the bus. But if you are a Caucasian a Caucasian crackhead, they tend to hide your crackheadness. Now, if you are a black crackhead, they deem you as problematic and, don't want to work with you. They try to make sure nobody else work with you. Now, help me find a lie. Ru husband is Caucasian, or other. Bob husband is Caucasian. And this is no disrespect to the girls. This is a fact. Monet husband is Caucasian. Latrice husband is Caucasian. Those are the people they keep feeding y'all with.
Tamisha also told a story from her time on Drag Race where she seemed to imply that RuPaul gets told who the winner of the lip sync is. And in Tamisha's case, it sounds like Tamisha is implying that RuPaul changed her mind and told production that she wanted to eliminate Tamisha instead because she, quote, had enough.
After the elimination, she had something in her ear. So production, pretty much, I'm not saying they tell her who win, but they tell her who win. So she can't control it. She look at the winner, during the cool down period. So when they told her who won, she looked at me. And I was like, okay. That was my attitude. I'm a very nonchalant type of person. I was like, okay. But then, after she looks at me, she does this. And Ru had a conversation with production for 5 to 6 or 7 minutes. And I never took offense to being put off the show because I don't care what nobody say. Ru eliminated me. Now, she do eliminate you, but Ru personally eliminated me. She had enough.
There was also another part of the live where Tamisha talked about when Tyra made rude comments about the Vivian after the Vivian tragically passed away, and Tyra got a huge amount of backlash for that. RuPaul seemed to get involved at the time by posting a video of her slapping Tyra. And Tamisha addressed this situation in her live and said that it was, quote, effed up that RuPaul antagonized that situation.
I say this about Tyra. You never know what a person is going through. And when she made the comment about the baby that passed, for RuPaul to antagonize that situation, that was fucked up. Because as a mother, as a parent, for me, your parent are the individuals that meet a problem head on to resolve it. RuPaul didn't join the Tyra fan base. She joined the RuPaul drag race. They call Ru mother. When are you going to step up to be a mother?
There was also a lot more things that Tamisha said during that live, so if you want all of the tea, go and check out the video on Tamisha's Instagram, and I'll link to that in the description. I also noticed that Tamisha recently posted a seemingly AI-generated video on her YouTube channel, and it seems that she is restarting the Tamisha Iman network.
Welcome to TIN Broadcasting, the official production company of the Tamisha Iman network. This is not just a network, it's a movement.
You may remember that I have talked about this in a previous video, but several years ago, Tamisha launched the Tamisha Iman Network, which was a separate streaming service where she said that she would have exclusive content and it would cost between $10 to $25 per month for a subscription. However, the exclusive content apparently never came, and afterwards, Tamisha sent out an email saying that there had been some technical issues with the site and that there would be no refunds, which is why people started to say that Tamisha had scammed people. The same thing also happened with fans who paid for some of Tamisha's merch but then never received it and were apparently refused a refund. And Tamisha reportedly blamed fans for why they didn't receive the merch and blocked anyone who called her out. In fact, there is a Twitter thread from 2021 where a Twitter user listed all of the alleged scams that Tamisha did and why the fans were so upset with her. So the Tamisha Iman network kind of became a bit of a meme within the Drag Race community, but it seems that Tamisha may now be starting it back up again, so we'll have to wait and see what comes of this situation. Okay, so finally we're going to talk about a little bit of drama to do with multiple queens calling out an apparent fraudulent events company that didn't pay them. And I'd like to give a shout out to the account at DragScenePH on Twitter, which is a fan account for the drag scene in the Philippines, who helped me piece together the information about this drama. So the drama started a few days ago with Pangina Heels, who is the host of Drag Race Thailand and also competed on season 1 of UK vs. The World. Pangina tweeted saying, "That tea will be spilled very soon. Oh, it's about why a particular show did not happen." At first, people didn't know what Pangina meant, but they suspected it might be something to do with Drag Race Thailand or Pangina's WOW Presents series called Tongue Tied. However, a few days later, it became clear what this tweet was actually probably about. Maxi is a Filipina drag performer who competed on Queen of the Universe Season 2 and later competed on Season 3 of Drag Race Philippines and was the winner of the season. A few days ago, Maxi posted on social media saying that the second date of her concert called Maxiverse was going to be cancelled because of a fraudulent events company in the Philippines called Beyond & Co, which previously went event by Beyond Limits. And they reportedly have a history of scamming queens and not paying them, although Maxi was not aware of that at the time. Just to explain the background, in March of this year, Maxi did a concert in the Philippines called Maxiverse, which was supposed to be a one-night only event, but because it was so popular, they added a second date in April. However, Maxi posted on social media saying that the second night had been cancelled because, quote, those who make unfavourable actions and inactions must be held accountable. Beyond & Co., previously known as Beyond Limits, executive producer Ervil Abarintos is legally bound for the refund of all those who have purchased tickets for Maxiverse Day 2 and is expected to process the same. Maxi later posted on social media saying that because so many people had purchased tickets for the show, and she presumably feared that the events company, Beyond & Co., was not going to issue the refunds, Maxi said she's actually going to do the concert for free so that fans don't miss out. By the way, a lot of these posts were written in Filipino, according to Google Translate, and I translated them into English, so if there are any major errors, please let me know in the comments. Pangina then commented on Maxi's post, basically saying that Ervil, who runs Beyond & Co., had previously organised an event in Thailand for Sasha Colby. However, the event was abruptly cancelled, and Beyond & Co. said they would issue refunds, but they never did. Then, when Beyond & Co. got called out, they deleted their Instagram account, which is why the queens decided to go public with calling them out, because the company was no longer contactable. After Maxi and Pangina called the company out, several other queens and organisations also called Beyond & Co. out as well. For example, a Singapore-based production company named Playground posted on Instagram saying that Beyond & Co. approached them to produce Plastique Tiara's Asia tour in Singapore and Bangkok. However, they have yet to receive payment, and they had to fund the entire production costs themselves. Plastique Tiara has since posted an Instagram story where she reposted Maxi's post about cancelling the second concert date, and Plastique said, quote, also, this promoter hasn't paid me or a bunch of other queens either. Nymphia Wind then posted an Instagram story with a screenshot of Beyond & Co.'s inactive Instagram account and said, quote, truly so disappointed, be careful girlies, it took me 6 months to get my money and still know so many girls who have not been fully paid. Laganja Estranja, Jimbo and Mirage have also spoken out, saying that they also had issues with getting paid, and they're grateful that the company is now being called out. Lady Morgana, who competed on Drag Race Philippines Season 1, posted saying that she would no longer be the host of the whole Slaycation tour, which is a tour organised by Beyond & Co. In a subsequent tweet, she responded to a tweet from someone who said that Ervil, the owner of Beyond & Co., had used a check to pay a supplier, but the check bounced. Lady Morgana reposted this, saying that Ervil had been using the money from the ticket sales for the Slaycation tour to pay off their outstanding bills, which date back several years to other events that they have also not paid for. Several former employees or people who worked with Beyond & Co. also shared their stories about not getting paid and also unprofessional behaviour. For example, more than one person even said that their personal bank accounts had been used by the company owner without their knowledge as a channel for company transactions. And due to the failures of the company with their debts, some of these people may now face legal consequences because their personal bank accounts were involved in these potentially dodgy transactions without their knowledge. Pangina also did an Instagram live video with Eva LaQueen from Drag Race Philippines Season 1 and Global All-Stars, and they talked about the damage this company has done within the drag community, which is why they decided to talk about it, and they praised Maxi for speaking up about it. Also, just a quick update from Matt in the editing room. Literally, while I was editing this video, Beyond & Co. have reinstated their Instagram, and they've posted a post which is a blank black screen. However, there's a comment. And the comment says, due to the cancellation of Maxiverse, the concert Beyond & Co. will be refunding all ticket sales. And then they have information about where to request a refund. It also says, Beyond & Co. sincerely apologises for this situation and takes full responsibility for the cancellation. Additionally, Beyond & Co. / Beyond Limits will cease all events and operations, but will remain active to process refunds and settle outstanding balances. And as you can imagine, there are hundreds of comments on this post that are very critical. But I just thought this was an important update I wanted to put into the video while I was editing it. Unfortunately though, this is not the first time something like this has happened. You may remember back in 2023, I did a video which I'll link to in the description, where I talked about Drag Race UK Season 2 winner Lawrence Chaney, who called out a UK-based events company called Club Kids for not paying her for shows that she did. Multiple other queens also spoke out about Club Kids with similar stories of non-payment. Some queens even alleged that Club Kids had sold fake merch of theirs, where they forged the queen's signatures and pretended they were real. And Club Kids has since closed down after all of this came to light. There was also some drama back in 2022 with a US-based management company called Voss Events, where several of the queens called them out and left the agency, and there was even a lawsuit against them, and I'll link to that video in the description too. But I just thought this recent drama to do with the Filipino events company was important to talk about, especially because this seems to not be an isolated incident, unfortunately. So let's hope the issue gets resolved and the queens get paid for their work as they should be. And make sure you go and support the queens, but just be careful when booking events and who you're giving your money to. Okay, so finally we're going to move on to a little bit of light drama to do with Trinity the Tuck setting the record straight about her comments to do with Susie Toot and Aiden Zane. So, you may remember that a few weeks ago, Trinity appeared with Sam Starr at Roscoe's, and she made some comments about Susie Toot, and she also responded to comments made by Aiden Zane. And I'll start with Aiden. So, as I said in one of my previous Have Your Say videos, Aiden Zane from season 12 had tweeted criticising Drag Race queens who wear outfits from other queens, particularly their drag family members. Although Aiden didn't mention anyone specifically, most people assumed Aiden was talking about Sam because she has worn several outfits from her drag mother Trinity. Multiple people called Aiden out saying she shouldn't talk about that because she wore the same wig on season 12. Trinity then called Aiden out over 2 Instagram stories where she said that Aiden isn't qualified to criticize other queens and she should have borrowed stuff from other people because it may have helped her. Well, Trinity later addressed the Aiden situation on her YouTube channel in her Drag Race review video series called I Live For This, which she co-presents with her drag daughter Chantel Sparkles. I hadn't covered Trinity's response in my video at the time because their latest video wasn't out yet, but it is now, so let's go through it. Trinity started out by explaining the situation with Aiden and why she posted the Instagram stories, and also why Aiden shouldn't be commenting on other queens' outfits.
I don't think that she should be commenting on that when, her wardrobe has been what it was.
Well, she actually, when she got cast on season 12, I was friends with her at the time, and I offered to send her some wigs. So some of the wigs that she wore on that season, she actually wore of mine.
Trinity also said she's always going to defend her friends when people come for them, and Aiden's comments were clearly targeted towards Sam because she has worn several outfits from Trinity. Trinity also made the point that she understands that Aiden may not have been as fortunate as Sam and Jules were, that they had drag family members to borrow outfits from, but you can't blame the queens for wanting to not get themselves into debt, and lots of queens borrow outfits from other queens, but they don't always say so.
She came in some outfits from off the rack. Now, that being said, I would have never said nothing about her
had you not poked the bear.
Had she not, came for...
She opened the box.
But Trinity clarified that none of the outfits Sam has worn have been seen on Drag Race before, and Sam made the outfits her own.
She wore one garment that I wore in the workroom for literally 2 minutes of Celebrity Season 1 that nobody watched. That gown I gave to Sam a couple of years ago. So it's not my gown, it's her gown.
Yeah.
She added all these rhinestones, all these butterflies, and made it her own.
Trinity then finished her thoughts on Aiden by saying this.
I don't hate Aiden. I don't wish her anything bad. I just have something to say if you have something to say.
Okay, so now let's move on to Susie Toot. At Roscoe's, Trinity had made a comment saying that she didn't vibe with Susie and that Susie is the only queen from season 17 that Trinity does not follow on social media. And a clip of Trinity saying this went viral on social media at the time.
Can I confess something?
Please do.
I really want to confess something. Girl, I'm just not feeling Susie. Wow. Not her drag.
What is it?
What she getting on here? It's not that I hate her. I'm not vibing with this like better than thou attitude. She's the only one that I don't follow.
Susie then vaguely clapped back on Twitter and said that she doesn't follow Trinity. Then on Instagram, Trinity said she would share her thoughts in her YouTube video, so let's go through it. Trinity started out by explaining that she was at Roscoe's and made some comments about Susie, and it's a viewing party and you're supposed to give your opinion, but people always blow it out of proportion. But Trinity said the clip that had been going around on social media was actually taken out of context, and she clarified why she said what she said about Susie.
You didn't see the full thing. My comment came after the part in the episode where Susie is being a little, like, I say nasty, but maybe that's the wrong term. She's being a little too emboldened to Lana when Lana's obviously about to lip sync. I have felt that energy as a viewer this entire season.
Trinity then ended by saying this about Susie.
I don't hate Susie. I don't know Susie. I did not say anything that was so bad that people could be up in arms about. Girl, I don't hate Susie. I wish her well. I think she's a great entertainer. I just have not cared for the character that I've seen on TV.
Then, if you watched my latest Roscoe's recap, you'll have seen that Susie recently did a funny clap back to Trinity, and she said in an interview that she sent Trinity a t-shirt of hers that says F Susie Toot on it, because she thought Trinity would like it. Well, in Trinity's latest I Live For This video on YouTube, Trinity responded to this and said that she would be including Susie's t-shirt in a prize giveaway for her viewers.
You're actually going to get 2 items from Susie because she actually is sending me this new shirt that she's coming out with that says "Fuck Susie." And
I didn't know that was real. I thought that was a joke.
No, she's been really good about coming out with like specific merch for little things that happen. We're going to include it in our package. So if you want that as well, it's going to be included there.
I'll also link to the full videos on Trinity's YouTube channel if you want to check them out. And so overall, it seems like Trinity and Susie have somewhat settled their issues and they're just playfully reading each other. But we'll have to wait and see if any more comes of this situation. Okay, so we're now going to move on to a little bit of light drama to do with Susie Toot addressing the comments that Trinity the Tuck has made about her. And Susie Toot also clarifies how she feels about her supposed feud with Lexi Love. So, if you've watched my previous videos, you'll know that Trinity the Tuck has made several critical comments about Susie, saying things like she doesn't vibe with her, and that Susie puts down her fellow competitors. And Trinity also said that Susie is the only queen from season 17 that she does not follow on social media. Susie has vaguely clapped back on Twitter, and in a recent interview, Susie said that she sent Trinity a t-shirt that says F Susie Toot on it. However, Susie has now addressed Trinity's comments, and in an interview on the red carpet for the Eliminated Queens, an interviewer brought up what Trinity had said about Susie at Roscoe's, as well as some of the other people who have said mean things about Susie, and this was Susie's official response.
Someone was speaking about you at Roscoe's a few weeks ago. Have you heard about that at all?
I don't know. It's not come up on my feed, so I'm assuming that I don't follow her.
Oh, well, you know, let me show you. Trinity the Tuck had some words about you at Roscoe's viewing party a few weeks ago. Do you have a response?
My response to Trinity the Tuck Taylor is thank you for being a fan. Thank you for shouting me out, bringing my name wherever you please, because, you know, I need it. I love attention. And I think you're fabulous, and I would never bring you down, baby. Mwah, 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 mwah.
One of the other things Susie has recently addressed is the supposed feud between her and Lexi Love. Throughout season 17, there has been a storyline that Lexi felt threatened by Susie because she's strong competition, and Lexi mentioned it several times. This then led to people creating multiple memes making fun of Lexi for being obsessed with Susie. In fact, a Twitter user has created a montage video with footage of Susie and Lexi to the song Girl So Confusing by Charlie XCX and Lorde in the background.
Yeah, I don't know if you like me, sometimes I think you might hate me.
And Lexi even retweeted this video. Lexi has also joked about her supposed feud with Susie, and for example, she posted this video just after Susie's elimination.
Well, that was stressful. I thought I was going to have a grand mal seizure.
Lexi was also once asked about her feud with Susie during an interview with Ricky Cornish for Pride, and both she and Susie joked about it, and it was clear that the two of them are friends.
Susie, how would you describe your feud with Lexi Love?
I would describe it as appropriate and sane, very grounded in reality. I think that's my favorite part about it.
However, there has also been some backlash against Lexi, with people saying that she was overly mean to Susie and that she was obsessed with her. For example, a few weeks ago, someone posted a tweet which got quite a lot of traction, which said, "Sorry, this episode plus Untucked has really made me not like Lexi as much now. She is so into her head that her only resort is blaming everyone else for her mistakes." Another example was that on one of Lexi's TikTok videos, someone commented saying, "Susie deserved your spot," presumably referring to the fact that Susie got eliminated and didn't make it to top 4. Then, in a recent video, the YouTube channel The Drama posted clips of Susie from this week's Lollapalooza episode, and the video was titled, "Susie Toot, You'll Always Be Famous." And in one part of the video, Lexi was screaming for Susie. Someone commented on the video saying, "Lexi screaming Susie is all of us during this episode." Someone then replied to this user and said, "That was so performative. She knows that the fans are upset with her. She needs everyone to forgive her in order to get some votes to win, LMAO." Someone else then screenshotted this exchange and posted it onto the RuPaul's Drag Race Reddit page and said, "I beg this fandom to stop trying to write think pieces on people you don't know." Susie has also made it clear throughout the season that she does not want anyone to send hate to her fellow sisters. But after some of the backlash that Lexi got this episode, Susie seemingly responded to it by posting a tweet recently which said, "Hey, just so we're all clear, Lexi and I have been friends and continue to be friends. Our beef online is 100% a bit between friends that is fun and silly. If you participate in any kind of public hate for Lexi, you are not a tutor, full stop." But then, in a jokey response, someone replied to Susie and said, "Okay, what about Corey King? We can still hate her, right?" And Susie said, "Absolutely, run wild." Okay, so finally, let's move on to a little bit of light drama to do with some apparent suspicious activity to do with the season 17 finale voting, as well as Susie Toot may have accidentally broken her contract. Okay, so let's start with the suspicious voting for the finale of season 17. So, as you may know, for many years now, Drag Race encourages fans to vote for who from the top 3 or 4 queens they want to win the season. Typically, Drag Race will post photos of each of the queens on Instagram or Twitter and get fans to like each of the queens' posts for who they want to win. Although this is sort of like a vote, we know that these aren't necessarily votes that make a difference to the outcome because RuPaul ultimately has a say for who wins. But some people have argued in the past that these social media posts are a good reflection of which queens are the most popular, and perhaps the show does take this into account when deciding on the winner. However, with season 17, it seems that there may have been some suspicious activity on these social media posts. So, people first started talking about this suspicious activity a few weeks ago, just after the final 4 were announced in episode 14. On the 8th of April, I took screenshots of the posts for the top 4 queens on Instagram, and at that time, the stats were: Anya's post had 178,000 likes, Jules's post had 153,000 likes, Lexi's had 36.2 thousand likes, and Sam's had 22.1 thousand likes. There were then several reports online that the votes seemed to be going up exponentially on certain queens' posts, particularly Anya and Jules, and people were saying that their posts had received thousands of likes within minutes. And at one point, Jules even had more likes on her post than Anya did, although that later changed. I then took screenshots again a week later on the 17th of April, and the stats were then: Anya's post had 712,000 likes, which means that her post went up by 534,000 likes, which is an increase of 300% within 1 week. Jules's post then had 470,000 likes, which is an increase of 317,000 likes from before, which is an increase of 207%. Lexi's post was at 70.6 thousand likes, which is 34.4 thousand more likes than she had before, which is an increase of 95%. And Sam's post was now at 43.7 thousand votes, which is 21.6 thousand more votes than before, which is an increase of around 98%. So while all of the Queen's posts did increase significantly, Anya and Jules's posts increased so much, people seem to conclude that the likes must be coming from bot accounts. There were also people pointing out that many of the comments on these posts were from seemingly empty Instagram accounts that had been newly created. However, just to make it clear, no one is suggesting that the Queens themselves are responsible for these bots. I think that's very unlikely. It was more likely that some fans were buying bot accounts to try and boost the likes for their favourite queens, although this is just a theory and none of it has been confirmed. People then started joking about this online, and even some of the queens started joining in and joking about the potential bot likes. For example, Jules posted saying, "All we can truly do is laugh because this is so unserious." Lana then commented with the crying emoji, and Dawn from season 16 commented saying, "Girl, what do you mean you're breaking records?" Other content creators also mentioned this whole bot suspicious activity thing, such as Bussy Queen. But another Drag Race queen who talked about this was Trinity the Tuck on her YouTube podcast. And I saw a clip of Trinity talking about this on the Instagram account Shadiva Online.
Anya would gain 50,000 likes in a matter of a minute. And then it would gradually go
So what
up.
are you saying? You think someone's buying their likes?
I don't know. I don't think it's them, but I think something was going on.
I also came across an interesting Reddit post on the RuPaul's Drag Race subreddit by the user Dogboy678, where they collated all of the posts of the finalists from the last several years of Drag Race and how many likes they got on their posts. If we go back to the earliest season they included, which was season 6, which aired back in 2014, we can see that Bianca Del Rio, who was the winner, only got around 21.5 thousand votes, which was still quite a lot at that time. But then if you look at season 7, 8 and 9, the votes do go up, but not by that much. Then, in season 10, Aquaria got 138,000 likes, which was substantially more than any other queen up till that point. Then, the average amount of votes started going up and up from there. But even if we look at some of the more recent seasons, such as season 15, Anitra got 211,000 likes, which was more than anyone else up till that point and was still kind of unheard of. But then if we compare that to season 17 again, back on the 8th of April, Anya had 178,000 likes and Jules had 153,000, which isn't necessarily that unusual. But then they increased to 712,000 and 470,000 likes, which was around triple the amount there had ever been on any Queen's post before. And this seems to be further proof that there was likely some kind of suspicious bot activity involved, which was pushing up the like numbers, because those numbers just don't add up. And although Drag Race has become more popular over the years, those numbers still seem way too high compared to the previous numbers. And of course, in the grand scheme of things, this doesn't necessarily matter because these posts aren't really used for anything other than as an indication of which queens are popular among the fans. But it does raise questions about who did this and whether we're going to see more of this sort of thing in the future. So let me know in the comments what your thoughts are about this. And finally, let's move on to some potential tea about Susie Toot, who may have accidentally broken her contract. We've seen on Drag Race in the past that the queens have given each other money. For example, on All Stars 2, Alaska offered Detox $10,000 to keep her in the competition. And on All Stars 6, Ginger Minge split her $5,000 cash tip with her teammates Jan and Pandora because she said it was a team effort. And she even posted on Twitter afterwards confirming that she paid them. And because of this, it seemed that it was okay for the queens to split their winnings with each other. However, according to a recent tweet, this may not be the case. After the season 17 lip sync Lollapalooza, Susie Toot tweeted saying, "Before the last lip sync, Corey and I shook hands and agreed that the winner would give the other $1,000. She then attached a screenshot of a money transfer to Corey of $1,000 and the reference said, "I ate you up." However, shortly after Susie posted this, Candy Muse commented saying, "Sister, delete this. You can legally get in trouble for this via your contract." Susie then responded to Candy and said, "LOL, wasn't aware of this. For any lawyers around, I gave her that money before the 50K ever hit my account." And I did go and check recently, and Susie has not deleted this tweet and it's still up on her account. This exchange then prompted a lot of speculation online, with people wondering why this sort of thing would be breaking the rules of the contract. Some people theorised that perhaps World of Wonder does not want the queens to give each other money because it may undermine the competitive nature of the competition. Or some queens may not give their full effort in a lip sync if they know they're getting paid either way because the queens have struck a side deal beforehand. Some online commenters also said that these sorts of rules are standard practice in a lot of contracts, but as I'm not a lawyer, I can't say whether this is true or not. Just out of interest, I did ask ChatGPT about this particular scenario without naming names because I just thought it'd be interesting to see what it would say. And it said that this may fall under clauses in contracts such as anti-collusion/fair play clauses, gambling or side betting prohibitions, and confidentiality and public commentary restrictions, which are all apparently quite standard clauses in reality show contracts. However, this is of course just what ChatGPT said, and I have no idea if this is true or not, so please take this with a very large pinch of salt. But if there are any actual lawyers watching, please let me know what your thoughts are on this. And so it looks like Susie may have unknowingly broken the rules of her contract. However, it's not clear what the rules are in the first place and which particular rule Candy is referring to in the contract. But I just thought this was an interesting bit of tea and maybe something to bear in mind for future seasons. Let me know your final thoughts on season 17 and what was your favourite moment from the season. And I would just like to say thank you so much to my amazing Patreon members who have supported me for the entire season and before. I so appreciate your support. It is so amazing having you there. I love speaking to you in the Have Your Say polls, the exclusive Patreon chat, and I do just love this community. So thank you so much for all of your love and support. And if you would like your comments featured in my future Have Your Say videos, get early access to my videos, access to the Patreon chat, and a raft of other benefits, please check out my Patreon and I'll put a link to that in the description. Please make sure you like and comment on this video as always, because a little bit of love goes a long way, as we know, and it really does help boost this video in the algorithm. And please make sure you hit subscribe because I would love to get to 150k by the end of the year. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me in future for more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. Thank you so much. Bye.